Good evening, guys. Hey, coming at you on Monday night for the next edition of Facebook Live. Tonight we're going to be talking about the do's and don'ts of an effective call to action. And this is so critical. I had a call last night from a father. I don't want to give too much information to identify him, but I get these calls every night, as a bunch of us do. This guy in particular had spent a couple of years of his life trying to get access to his kids. Last night was literally in tears, so overjoyed and excited. He ended up finally getting access to his kids. But it cost him literally $500,000 to get access to his kids. And more importantly, for his kids to get access to him. And I realize this is gender neutral, so I don't mean to offend, because I know there's some mothers that are going through the same thing. But I just think, isn't it a shame that a child would be denied access to his own or their own father, except for $500,000? And this guy, he was just a neat guy, just a great character, great integrity, and he even said, what I feel for is the dads out there that don't have that kind of money. He said, yeah, obviously this is going to be a huge hit for me, but he said, I'd do it all over again to be able to have my kids have access to their dad. But what about the dads who don't have $500,000? And I think that's why all of us are on a part of this community, is trying to make a difference, trying to make a change so that either A, we can get more time with our kids, or B, other parents down the road don't have to go through the same thing. And I know there's frustration. A lot of you watching this have been involved for years in this movement in the community, trying to get some laws changed. Some of you are newer to it and have already had some frustrations thinking, all these bills we try to get passed and they stall. We try and get a bill submitted and either they don't even listen to it, or they listen to us, they sponsor a bill, but it never makes it to a floor vote. Or, it makes it to the first read on the floor, but never makes it out of committee. Why do these things stall? Tonight I want to go through what I think is a very, very big reason. Because rarely does a bill, and I've been involved in legislation for over 25 years, almost 30 years at this point. And I have worked on literally dozens and dozens and dozens of different issues and bills over that 25 to 30 years. And I'll just tell you, very rarely does a piece of legislation ever win solely on the merits of the legislation. What it wins by is the fact that legislators realize there are a lot of people who have this type of concern. And unfortunately, there's a lot of other organizations out there that do a great job of call to actions. And whether you support these groups or not, you have to respect the fact they're very well organized, whether it's the NRA or Planned Parenthood or the Pro-Life Organization or Eagle Forum, or some of these organizations have just massive call to actions. You think of the NRA, 5 million members. If they really put out a serious call to action, they say they will get as many as 500,000 emails sent to Washington, D.C. for legislators. Now, imagine somebody in Washington, D.C. How many letters do they normally get for shared parenting? At the most, maybe a handful at any given time. They may get some stragglers coming in. But I want you to imagine 500,000 emails come in. And the analogy I give is, anybody ever been out to Yellowstone Park and see the Old Faithful geyser? I want you to imagine this. All the crowd's around and they watch this geyser shoot up and everybody's ooh, ah, and they're taking pictures. Imagine somebody coming up with a little water gun and running out going, look, same concept, water under pressure. It's the same concept, but different volume levels. That's what we have. So many people are trying to win legislation on the concepts. We need the concepts, but what we need now to back that up is the pressure. We need the united effort of hundreds and thousands of people being able to write letters and calls to action. So what I want to go through tonight is sort of an idea to help people realize, because this is something anybody can do. There's a lot of people that say, I'd like to help out, but gosh, I don't have a background in politics. I don't have a background in legal stuff. I'm not even a writer. Fortunately, you don't have to be a writer. What I'm going to go through is something anybody can do, but I'm telling you, this plays a role, and all of us have a role. In Missouri, we've got, you've heard me say time and time again, we've got a dream team. We've got Jeremy Roberts, that's really the one leading the charge. We've got Linda Reutzel, who has just an excellent writing ability. She's been able to get some things published. She's been very, very up on the shared parenting movement and facts, figures, statistics. We've got Kenneth Goins and Scott Smith, who are attorneys. They are very, very good at the legal aspects. So we have a dream team. My role is more of the PR type person, trying to get the publicity out there. But also behind us, we need a lot of people being able to write letters. And as I said, there's a lot of states right now that are darn close. So if you're in one of these states, We need to make sure that you share this with other people in your states. There are a lot of states that I believe next year are going to come darn close to passing legislation. I believe in the next 2 years, we will have legislation at least filed in all 50 states across the country within the next 2 years. And I believe a lot of those are going to start passing. So what I want to go through tonight, I want to go through the 7 critical mistakes of an email campaign. That if you do one of these 7 things, that you're just not going to be as effective. And as a matter of fact, you may actually do more harm than good if you do one of these 7 things. So just in the essence of time, I'm going to try and go through them a little quick. Number 1 is your letter is too long. Realize it. And give you an example. Some of you have heard, I've got a friend of mine that was working on Second Amendment legislation this year in Jefferson City here in Missouri. And there was one of her bills just happened, she found out at the last minute, it was coming up for a committee vote the next morning. She put an email out to her database at 5 o'clock at night, the night before. The next morning, she printed off 22,000 emails that she had stacks that she brought in on a trolley that she set in front of the committee members of 22,000 emails. Do you think that carried weight? You better believe it. But you also have to realize, if you're the legislator, you don't have time to read that many emails. So if you send a 2-page letter, I'll just tell you, if it's by email, they're hitting the delete button. If you send it snail mail, they're not going to read it. So you've got to keep it brief. I'm not exaggerating. A half page to 3/4 of a page is way, way, way better than a full page, and definitely better than 2 pages. I'll just tell you, if you send 2 pages, you may as well not send anything. Half page to 3/4 of a page maximum. Number 2 critical mistake. In any way threatening a legislator. Whether threatening them personally, that, hey, I know where you live, or I'll get back at you, or threatening their office or their job, that, hey, I'm going to vote you out. That may get you your 15 minutes of fame on the media, but that is not going to win you friends with a legislator. You know, if you're trying to feed pigeons, you don't run after the pigeons and throw the bread at them. You just sit back and you casually wait for the pigeons to come, and then you drop the bread and the crackers to them. Same with the legislature. You got to build a relationship with these people. You can't come pounding at them. You're going to chase them away. Never, ever in an email threaten that you're going to vote someone out of office, and never threaten them personally. Number 3 critical mistake, using a form letter. Now, let me say this. A form letter is better than no letter. So some of you have been a part of campaigns and you've done that. And just the reason is some people just don't have an idea of what to do. So yeah, somebody just put on here that we need that template. And I'll get to that in a second. I think it was Vincent that threw that out. But we're getting to that later, Vincent. Good job. But yeah, you need some kind of a template. But you're best to not use a form letter. A personalized letter carries a heck of a lot more weight. 4th critical mistake is not referencing the specific bill. They need to know what bill that you're referencing. They get hundreds of bills coming their way. If you just say the shared parenting bill, they may not know which shared parenting bill, because some states, in Missouri last year, we had, I believe, 11 different bills that we were in different process of at any given time. So make sure you reference a specific bill. Number 5 critical mistake is not being specific enough with your request. And this is the whole purpose of the letter. So as a matter of fact, on this point, you need to be able to condense your entire reason for the letter in one sentence of your letter. And you need to bold that and underline it. Because some of these guys don't have the time to read everything. But if they see bold and underline, I am hereby requesting that you vote yes on HB 4691 in committee. Boom, that's all they need to read. Now they got the gist of your letter. You're going to be so much more effective to do that. So always make sure, if you're emailing or writing a snail mail, somewhere in that letter you need one sentence that is bold and underlined that highlights everything you want them to do. Number 6, not being timely. You're so much more effective having a power push right before a big vote than to just stream in a handful of letters. And that leads into the 7th critical mistake, is just not enough letters. Like I said, it's the geyser in the water pistol. Some of these people are getting just hundreds and hundreds of letters from the NRA or Planned Parenthood or you know, the pro-life movement, and then a lot of times they'll get 3 or 4 letters from shared parenting. And if I'm a legislator, I'm thinking, apparently this issue isn't important, because I'm sure not getting a lot of letters about this. If they start getting a flood of letters, all of a sudden, boom, it starts getting on their radar screen that, hey, this is a pretty serious issue. So to do that, one thing we're doing, and I think most of you have already heard me, if you've been watching on Monday nights, you've heard me say this, over and over again, and I apologize if it comes across like a used car salesman, but guys, I just can't emphasize enough how important this is. To have a call to action campaign, you've got to do it semi-stealth. Now, it's not like they don't know it's coming, but you don't want to broadcast it on Facebook. You don't say, hey, we need everybody to write letters. Now, there's times we... Oh, apologize for that. I had a phone call coming in. Hopefully this is still continuing on. If you're seeing me, let me know. If not, let me know. But you've got to make sure that, we're keeping them in a stealth. So what we want is we want an email database. And in that email database, we can send out messages to people to let them know what we want done. So to do that, we need your emails ahead of time. Some of you say, hey, I'd like to play a role. Let me just tell you, if you want to play a role, as soon as this video is done, I need you to do me a favor. Go to afesp.com. The numbers are typed at the top of this Facebook Live. It stands for Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. afesp.com. Now let me clarify too, this is not in any way in competition with the Father's Rights Movement. Matter of fact, it's a support organization that's going to help out the Father's Rights Movement. Father's Rights is a 501c3, which is restricted in lobbying efforts. Americans for Shared Parenting is in the process of filing for a 501c4, which gives a lot more leniency as far as trying to get some legislation passed. So this database will be used in conjunction with anything that TFRM or any other organization has that they need something passed. So, but we need you to do that. So go to afesp.com. On there will be a button that says subscribe. Some of you, if you have browsers, there's a couple browsers I heard people, they said if they click the subscribe button, it wouldn't do it. Go like an inch higher where the quill pen is and hit right above subscribe, and it'll take you there. But we need your email address, your city, and your state. This is critical, and I'll get to why in a second as I go through the second half of this. But when we're sending out calls to actions, we need to be able to target specifically the people in any state who are going to be affected. And we need to tell you exactly what you want to include, sort of a template that I'll be going through in a second here, of what do you include in an email when you send it to your legislator. So I'll go through that in a second. But do me a favor. If you're not on that distribution list, please get on it. I promise that will never be sold for any commercial purposes whatsoever. That is within our community to help raise awareness or get legislation passed, and those are the only two things that database is going to be used for. But we need to be able to reach you. We will not be doing it by Facebook. We're going to be doing it by private email so we can do sort of stealth and go under the radar. Okay, so now I sort of told you the 7 things not to do. Let me go through a brief rundown of what do you want to include when you send an email to your legislator. Most important thing is to include the bill number that you're referencing. So include the bill number. Next thing, be very concise of the explanation of what you want done. Be very, very clear. And as I said, that needs to be in bold print and underlined. You need to have at the very top of your thing, I, Mark Ludwig, hereby ask you to vote yes in the Judiciary Committee on Thursday. Matter of fact, if you're in Michigan, we need you doing this tonight. There's a bill, HB 4691, that was going to be going on Tuesday. It's now moved back to Thursday. But if you're in the state of Michigan, you've got a bill that is crucial coming up to the House Judiciary Committee on Thursday for a vote. We need you to email the members of the committee, not everybody in the whole legislature, just the members of the House Judiciary Committee for the state of Michigan. But what you need to do at the top of your letter, I so-and-so hereby request that you vote yes on HB 4691 in the House Judiciary Committee on Thursday. That should be bold, highlighted, underlined, and then you get on to the rest of the things. Less than 1 paragraph about how the legislation affects you personally. Don't write your whole history of everything that happened. As I said, if it's more than 3/4 of a page, they'll hit the delete button or they'll throw it away if you're doing snail mail. So it's got to be 1 paragraph maximum describing your situation. Mention if you have any kind of an expertise. If you're an attorney, if you're a psychologist, a parent to a degree is, because you're mentioning that. If you're a grandparent, but mention how it directly affects you. Use very simple language. If you start using legal jargon like rebuttable presumption or the 8 mechanisms within the bill, you're turning off. Now, if you're the ones who worked on the bill, that's a different thing. If you're a part of the team that's put the bill together, you're going to include that. But if you're a constituent writing someone asking for a vote, that's going to turn people off. They're going to think, that's just not the average person sitting at a kitchen table. What legislators want to know is, am I getting letters from average Joe and Mary who are sitting at a kitchen table? So use very simple language. As I said, make sure you're clear about the action you want on the bill. Whether it's a vote in a committee, whether you want them to ask for a vote on the floor, whether you want them to sponsor a bill. Include some facts and figures if you can. And as I said, if you're a part of that AFESP.com website, we will be telling you what we'll do. We'll send you an email out with all of these points that I'm going through, and we'll include some facts, figures that you can put in there. Make sure that you put your name and address. A letter to your own senator or state rep carries a lot of weight if you're one of their constituents. Include information for resources for more information, whether it's the National Parent Organization, whether it's the Father's Rights Movement, but point them in a direction or one of the leaders of the organization. In Missouri, even though I'm considered one of the leaders, I'm always referencing Jeremy Roberts just because I think Jeremy's sort of the team lead for us, and it's so much easier going through one central person for everything. So make sure you include how to get a hold of someone for more information. And then address your letter appropriately. Make sure you always use the word honorable. I know it sounds weird to do that and sounds like you're bowing down to him something, but that's customary protocol for a letter to a legislator. But I can't emphasize enough, guys, that we need you to subscribe to that database. That is going to be used. We are right now in the process, and I believe next 2 years, every one of the 50 states will have some legislation in the process. And I believe about 5 to 7, possibly as many as 10, are going to have a breakthrough in the next 2 years if we can get this database amassed. But we need to make sure that we're at a point that we've got the army assembled, that we can put an email out, not a Facebook blast, a private email out to an organization, and boom, the legislators are going to get 100, 200, 500, or 1,000 emails. That's the last key we need to push this over the edge. So if you're in certain states, especially if you're in any one of these states, if you're in Michigan, we need a letter tonight. But we also need you on that database because there's going to be a lot more to come. This is just a committee vote, and then there's the break for the end of the legislative session. 4691 is going to take a whole year before we can finalize the process up in Michigan. If you're in Missouri, I'm convinced next year is the year Missouri is going to get it done. But if you're in Missouri, we need your name on that AFESP.com website. We have got to have you guys. That's the last thing we need to push this over the top. If you're in Kentucky, Kansas, Alabama, Florida, Illinois, Iowa, Colorado, North Carolina, Texas, or South Carolina. Now, I know there's other states, but I believe every one of those states I've mentioned, and I'm not hyping, I believe in the next 2 years, every one of those states, if we have enough people in our database, we are finally going to get a bill pushed through in every one of those states. So, as I said, in our emails, we're going to be including to you exactly who do you write. We're going to have a thing where you can click, you can put your zip code in, it'll pull up who your state rep is, who your state senator is, what their email address is, what their mail is. So all you have to do is point and click and send a letter to them. We're going to put when to write because we want it strategically timed. As I said, we are much better off with them getting 100 emails 2 days before a floor vote. Hi, Ryan, by the way. But we're much better off having 100 emails that they all get the week of a floor vote or the week of a committee vote instead of streaming in 2 or 3 emails a day. Just totally different effect. So we're going to tell you exactly when to write that letter. And as I said, we're going to give you the bullet points. We're going to tell you what the bill number is, you know, an idea of, hey, put this paragraph in about your personal testimony. Mention your expertise. We're going to talk every detail you need of the letter. So it's going to take you literally a couple of minutes, and that's all you need with what we're going to send out. But to do that, we need you in the database. So like I said, I hate to come across as da-da-da-da-da-da, but you really need to, guys. This is serious. There are kids right now that I believe will have times with their fathers or their mothers over the next couple of years if we can get this database built up and get us as powerful as the NRA or Planned Parenthood or the pro-life movement. If we can get thousands of people in this database, I'm telling you, we are going to change the tide of this whole community. So it's critical. I'm not just saying this. Number one, we need you to do it. Number two, I need you to do me a favor. Don't just input your information in there. Set a goal to make a difference. You know, years from now, when you're sitting around with your kids at the with your grandkids at the campfire, are you going to have a story to tell? Are you going to be able to tell them, hey, I'll tell you what, I took a stand. I went out and I made some things happen. So I want you to, number one, get your own email in there, and number two, start sharing this with other people that you know share are supportive of the shared parenting movement. Let them know we need their email address. afesp.com, click the subscribe button, and then just slightly above that, if you use certain browser, I forget what browser it is, but one of the browsers, if you click the word subscribe, it's not going to click. So go about an inch higher where the quill pen is, it'll take you there. So that's pretty much it for this. Now this Sunday I'm going to be doing a special Father's Day. Now most of these emails I do, Facebook Lives, are for our inner circle. But you have to realize we can't talk the same way to people within our community as people outside of our community. Think about what you thought before you came involved. If you'd have talked to me 8 years ago, I honestly would not have understood what I realize now and what so many of us have realized. So we can't use words like extortion or the corrupt judges to people who don't understand. That just turns them off. And not that it's, not that some of you haven't gone through things like that. I understand what you've gone through because I've been there. But you can't communicate it in that language to someone outside the community. This Sunday night on Father's Day, I'm preparing a message that I'm putting out that you can share with anybody. And the goal is not within our community. That's not the target audience of the Facebook Live I'm doing this Sunday. This Sunday's Facebook Live is for the coworkers that you have, the neighbors that you have, the teachers at your kid's school, to help them understand what is it like for a child to not be able to have equal access to both of their parents. What is it like for a child to see the neighbor playing baseball with their father in the front yard and they don't get a chance to? What's it like for on a weekend, for a child to have to not be able to see one of their parents, or to not be able to get the memories, or to all the other kids have one of their parents pick them up after school and they'd only get one parent every single time. To not get a chance to have their dad teach them how to ride a bike. And not being, I apologize, I know there's mothers, but this is Father's Day, so I'll apologize. I know there's a lot of mothers out there that are affected, but do me a favor, give me some leeway since it's Father's Day this Sunday. I'm going to be talking in those terms. But I'm trying to create a message that you can share because, as I've always said, nothing is going to change until people who aren't affected by a situation become just as concerned as people who are. So the message I'm crafting for Sunday is not for us in the community. It's so that you can post on your Facebook page to try and raise an awareness with other people. Because I'm going to be asking some very serious psychological questions that I want them to think of. That what would it be like for them if they didn't get to see their kids all week long? What would it be like if when they come home from work, their kids weren't there? So do me a favor, tune in on Sunday night. I'm going to be doing a quick little Facebook Live on that, but I appreciate everybody. Last thing, once again, I'll push it one last time. Do me a favor while you're thinking of it right now. Go to afesp.com, enter and subscribe your information for the email list, and then also do me a favor and share this video. If you're in one of those states I mentioned, you need an army in that state. So post it on your state chapter page. Post it on any organization that you know that is interested in shared parenting. We need an army of people right now. Especially, as I said, if you're in Michigan, Missouri, Kentucky, Kansas, Alabama, Florida, Illinois, Iowa, Colorado, North Carolina, Texas, South Carolina, share the socks out of this video. We need this going viral so people can become a part of this army and we're going to get some changes done. Thanks again. I appreciate everybody. Let's go change some lives.